Well, meeting to order. Good evening, this is the monthly meeting of the Architectural Board Review, Tuesday, November 7th. Roll call, please.
Okay. Member Wicks.
Present.
Member Strata.
Here.
Member Kerouac.
Here.
Member Dahlman.
Here.
And Chair Hunter.
Here.
And members Cottrell and Deegan are absent.
Okay. Order of business is the minutes of our last meeting, October 3rd. Comments, corrections, anything to say about them?
I move they be approved.
I second.
Okay. We don't have to do the roll call on this.
We can do it all.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, okay, move ahead. Next is any non-agenda items from either people in the audience or people at home. Now is your time to speak up. Got 2 minutes to talk about stuff. Anybody here?
So if there is an item on the agenda, we can wait to speak, or do you want?
If it is on the agenda, yeah, then we'll get to that.
Okay.
Right.
And there is one person online, and for that person, just press the button to raise your hand if you'd like to speak, and we'll recognize you and give you the okay to speak.
Okay, so I'm sure the reason you're all here is the design review of lighting changes at Blair Park, 355 West Washington. So who's making the presentation for that? Anybody?
Come on up to the
Come
podium.
on up to the podium, please.
And unfortunately, our microphones are not working. We're on a temporary sound system, but hopefully my computer will pick up the audio. I'll set it up here so it gets a little better, but just try to speak up.
So your name and Mike?
Yeah, higher.
Yeah. Okay.
I apologize for my
Yep. No problem.
Okay, go ahead.
Derek Romano, Lead Electric and Lighting.
Aaron Stevenson, Lead Electric Lighting.
Okay. All right, so what are you here?
We're here to present the lighting updates for Blair Park and Artesian Field, specifically the exterior fixtures that are being replaced like for like. We've submitted everything through to Mike Croak, thankfully. And effectively, in short, one sentence, we're updating the exterior lighting at those facilities with like for like fixtures, focusing specifically on the lumen outputs and the light pollution. Outside of that, there's no new fixtures being added. We're not deleting any existing fixtures. We're simply switching from energy inefficient lighting, high energy output, HID lighting, high pressure sodium lighting, area lights to LED. And we're excited about the project.
Okay. Who wants to start? Sue?
Sure. Okay, I was wondering a couple things. I did go by and look in the day and in the night. And you provided this cool graph that had all the lumens and as it was spreading out. And so my question was, this is what's going to be, right?
That's what it's going to be, yes.
Right.
That's the after.
After.
The LEDs, yeah.
And then did you have one that you can compare what it is now to this one?
That's not really a very feasible thing to accomplish because these are done based off of engineered specs. So it's not something that is physically measured. That is something that is, it's not me, I don't know who that is.
Your second one?
Oh, is it my second one?
2 jobs, huh?
Yeah.
No, what we could do is we could take some measurements with like a foot candle meter and walk around and kind of get some specific data points.
Which we've done, but
Which we've done.
we cannot generate
We can't generate
a
that.
field like that. That is done engineering through a software system. And so there's no way to generate that exact kind of report that way. We have output readings in a much more point-based, so that we have something to go off of, but that's something we use in the field specifically. There's no way to generate a report for that.
So when I guess my ultimate question is, how does this that's gonna be compare to what
what's there
is
now?
now?
The best way to compare that is based off of the fixture type that you currently have.
Mhm.
And so we go off of what the wattage of the existing fixture, the color temperature of those fixtures, and we compare that and then input that into the software system
Mhm.
so that we generate a similar footprint
Mhm.
at the same color temperature and the same lumens. And then
Based on what
we're,
the existing fixture is. So we know what type of fixture you have and what wattage it is.
Mhm.
We know the lumen output of which it's gonna put out. And then based on how old the fixtures are, they start to lose their lumen depreciation. And then we base our photometrics off of that, what it's currently at.
So what you're saying, what I'm hearing you say is, what you're proposing to put in will be basically the same.
like for like.
Currently there.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
what
gonna
we
be-
as a company specialize in. Our field of work is direct replacement lighting. We don't, for instance, like if you were to build a new park, that's not our specialty. We cannot go in and do that kind of work. We could, but it would not be what we specialize in. Our specialty is like for like replacement. We work hard to understand what the fixtures you have and then put in direct replacement. So let's kind of explain some of the terminology really quick. When we say lumen, a lot of times we're familiar with like a phrase of wattage, all right? And wattage is very, very, very specific to a certain kind of fixture. It's great for energy efficiency improvements, which we're gonna get into. But when we're actually talking about the amount of light that's being output, lumens is the critical phrase and the critical term, and that's what we really go for. The second really critical term is color temperature. A light can look a lot brighter, but yet be the same wattage output or the same lumen output, but it's actual color of the light being produced. And so, excuse me, those two metrics are the two metrics that we work really hard to match. The lumen output, so that the same amount of lighting, and the same color temperature, so that you get the same actual color of the light, so the distance of the light stays the same. And so we get a very, very, very similar footprint. The other thing that we do work with is also like on baseball fields, artesian fields. We have to also work with what is there currently, with also what the standards are for the field of play. And so that's why we look at things like the Little League Baseball Association, what they require. And so in those scenarios, it's a little bit more tighter, and we work hard to show that. And again, we provided that to Micro. But we do the same thing there. We work off of their standards and what you currently have and what the field of play requires.
Okay, so assuming the people that live around there are okay with what's there now?
You're not
when
gonna see a
you replace
difference.
it, they shouldn't be like,
No.
oh my God, why is that so
No.
bright? Or why is that so white? Or why
Yeah.
is that so
There's
whatever?
an initial wow factor because the lights are different, where you're gonna notice that they're different, but it's not gonna, the light is not gonna be.
The output is the same. The
Yeah.
only critical difference that you will see is that certain kinds of fixtures, so metal halide lights, high pressure sodium lights, their life cycle diminishes, all right? If a light is at 20,000 hours, it's going to be yielding a lower light output than when it was new. High pressure sodium lights and metal halide lights, they diminish at different rates.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to know exactly what hour you're at right now with every single bulb. That's almost impossible to know. But what we do know is what that light output was when it was new. And so a 250 watt metal halide is going to generate X amount of lumens for the first set of hours, which is about 70% of its life. And then at that point, it's going to start diminishing really hard. And so if a light is very old and we replace it with a new light, the original lumen output is going to be identical, but it could look different than what's there now, but not from what it was when it was new.
Okay,
Make sense?
yeah.
Cool. Other questions on
No, not on that.
that? Brilliant. Onward we march.
I think you answered all my questions. Are we getting into hours of operation or any of that kind of stuff tonight? No? What's that?
That's my job.
Not our job, okay. And I
Well,
don't have any questions.
I think you're right, it's more the plan commission
Yeah.
type thing. I mean, we can discuss it if you want though, but
You
yeah,
can, but
yeah.
But we have no say.
Yeah, right, it's
Right.
more a plan commission type, yeah,
we'll listen to the audience, see what they say.
right,
What's their turn?
right, yeah.
Okay, Matt?
Are the heights of the fixtures the same, or are they,
Identical.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
we're matching everything identical.
yep. We're
It's
not
just a new
changing any of the
fixture.
poles.
Yeah.
you're not changing poles? You're
Nope.
not-
No,
Nope, absolutely not.
everything's
So
stays.
everything's going back, the same exact number of fixtures is going back in. So if it has 2 lamps on it right now, it's going backwards again. We're not gonna merge 2 lamps into 1 lamp and double the wattage. It is a true like-for-like direct replacement. What's there now is getting replaced with the same fixtures.
I don't know if there's been complaints from what's there now.
I'm gonna talk about that a little bit.
Okay, because it seems like there's gonna be more complaints because this is gonna be a brighter situation than what's there now. If what you're saying is true, right?
It shouldn't be brighter. It really shouldn't. If a light is very old, yes, that fixture
It's gonna
could
be
have
like a brand new
diminished
fixture.
considerably, but
Right.
we work really hard to generate the exact same amount of lumens and color temperature so that you don't have a big shock.
It'd be the same thing when you relamp Artesian Field with brand new metal halides. You're gonna probably get some people, wow, it's brighter. Why is it so much brighter? It's because you put brand new lamps in.
It's not that
like
the
a-
light has changed,
Yeah.
it's just the time. And Artesian Field's a good example. If you actually walk out to Artesian Field, those lights on which they're not on every night because there's not baseball out there every night or softball out there every night. But if you walk out there, you've got a couple lights that are incredibly old. They have diminished dramatically. Now, obviously, that makes sense because that field gets minimal use and whatnot. The hours of operation are lower there, and that's going to change. But what those lights were originally compared to what we're putting in,
Identical.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm questioning, what is our role here? I mean, if they're just replacing per what's there, I mean, do we have, without any input from, you know, the neighbors and all that, I feel like we're behind a
I'm
little
gonna
bit.
speak out of turn.
Okay, please speak out of turn because it's hard for me to say anything without knowing other
Both Neil and I were
issues.
involved when they first put the paddle tennis in.
Okay.
And paddle tennis lighting apparently is something different from anything else. There was no lighting on the tennis courts over there. There was no lighting of any sort other than what was around the pool. And I don't know if there's any neighbors here that were there at that time. It was a horrendous effort. And it took a long time, and finally, I found out that supposedly the ultimate light fixture and height and everything else was done at Bannockburn at the club down there. And so we dragged as many people down there on a Wednesday night or something like that to look at them. And everybody agreed that that was gonna be okay until they got in, and then there was still some people that thought, you know, I can see this, I can see that. You know, because it used to be seeing dark. We'll find out, I guess, you know, what the result, that was how many years ago? That was 10 years ago, 15 years ago anyway, a long time ago.
I was still in grade school.
Okay, so that was 40 years, 50 years, yeah. Anyway, so that's a little bit of the history, and we're gonna get the feedback out there, I'm sure. Neil, what do you think?
What is the color temperature you're choosing?
There's a few different ones that we're going with. The beautiful thing about the fixtures we're working with at Blair Park, they're color selectable. Right now, the paddle courts are 5K. And so our plan would be to stay with 5K. The area lights that are at Blair Park are 3,500K. And so our plan would be to stay with that.
So, okay, so the paddle courts will be 5K, which is fine, it's sunlight in effect.
Daylight, yeah, it's considered daylight.
But it's adjustable.
It is, they're adjustable fixtures,
So
so.
the fixtures, now, the technology has changed so much in the last 10 years. You can literally adjust the color temperature.
There's a
of the
little
lights
switch.
on a switch. So you put up 5K, you don't like them, switch them to 4K. You don't like that, put them to 3K. You want 5K again, go back to 5K.
You'll have to look into the specifics of the paddle court, you know, rules of play and whatnot. And that kind of gets back to like the baseball thing. You know,
Yeah.
baseball, Little League requires 4K and above, for instance. You can't put 3,500K on a youth baseball field and it be sanctioned for approved play. It has to be 4K and above. They prefer actually 5,500K, but
I
it can
guess
be.
what I was thinking about with your comments there is in my office, we recently switched to all LEDs. And we did 4,000 everywhere,
Yep.
except in the bathrooms, we decided to do 3,000.
Yep.
We're not happy with the change. I would have gone to 4,000 everywhere if I was doing it again.
I know a guy.
The next question I've got is, I can't read all the property lines on here, but is everything at 0-foot candles at the property lines?
As best as we know, yes. We didn't know exactly where the property lines were without having a survey, but based off of what we saw, yes.
It dramatically drops down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see
Moonlight
all
is
the
on
lines
here,
here,
but
but it's pretty close to the property.
Yeah, and we were conservative with that line.
And then when it gets down here, it's not zero, but that's where
The property moves out.
the hill is.
Yeah, yep.
And the only other question I got is what Matt referred to as the heights, because the height is where you get glare. And
The lower the pole, the more it faces out. The higher the pole, the more it faces down. Pretty
Yeah.
simple.
And, but if, like you said, if people are comfortable with what it is now, it's gonna be the same thing.
It's the
Exactly.
same thing.
And
Yeah.
these are full cutoff light fixtures?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can always adjust them a little bit, like if there's too much light pollution shining up, we'll just angle them down a little bit more. So there's
Yeah,
a
but
lot
the
of
board wants
adjustments.
to, if the board wants to have someone there on the day of install to help, you know, guide or direct, we'd be happy to have someone there. But when we do the install, we're gonna be working hard to making them the exact same that they were before. So if we're comfortable with where they were before, that's going to be our guide. If there's a specific light that we wanna move, we would need someone's, you know, input as to which light that is and what direction we wanna move it. Otherwise, we're gonna go back right on the angles that they were in the past.
Art?
Just, the only comment I'd make is, I'm looking at the pool, the lights at the swimming pool, and these are quite a bit less powerful
They are. Yeah,
than.
we're not trying to light up the pool like the paddle courts. They need very different things. You don't really have 10 PM swims very often, you do have 10 PM paddle court play.
It's more for like general illumination.
Safety,
Yeah, safe.
keeping the deck safe.
Yeah, just keeping it safe.
Okay. That's it? Well, I guess I kind of said my piece. So this is not exactly the field of dreams here. We've got neighbors, and so it's, anybody wants to take a shot at, you want to come up here to say your piece, and then we'll move on to a question still not leaving Blair Park yet.
Okay.
So, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, come on up and give us your name and address if it's relevant.
Thank you, I'm Gail Gamrat, I live at 660 Green Bay Road, so back up correct to the Park District. And I moved in 2010, so I wasn't there when they originally went in the paddle courts, but we were there and have lived there long enough where we used to be consulted on any change at the Park District that has changed. And so I'm here just to make sure to ask the line of questioning you are. I'm nervous when you say there's an initial wow factor with the change. The lights have been changed, I believe, once since the original ones were put in. And I know there were a lot of meetings with the neighbors back then when they were originally put. So I just want to make sure and look out for our property value, because there's been recent developments where the Park District is not seeming to be communicating with the neighbors on these decisions, and so it just makes me a little concerned. So I guess I'd want to hear more about why there's a wow factor. And I know I heard you say, well, all the bulbs would be new at once, but they shine directly into our bedrooms. I'm here on behalf of a couple of our neighbors tonight, just to make sure that we're making sure that this isn't going to be any brighter, because they are very bright on our houses.
So, excuse me, which, you say you live on the south end of the park or on the east end of the park?
On the east end of the park, so I'm the second house driving north on Green Bay Road from 176 or Rockland Road.
Okay.
So you can see, so when the lights are on, you're seeing the light source?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I can make little shadows on my walls.
Can you really?
Yeah, yes.
Which throws me off of these photometrics, because, and I'm not, but with the photometrics, they're saying there's no light bleed by the time it gets to your house. But that's evidently, it's not reading,
It's
you're
not true.
seeing.
And we would be happy to have anyone come over and
Yeah.
see.
And I know we've heard this before
Yeah.
on other, when the other,
When we did the school park.
The school thing, right.
It turned out to be more glare.
I suspect what she's getting, you probably had 0-foot candles at the property line, but you're getting glare.
On the ground, yeah.
If you can see the light bulb, that's called glare.
yeah,
I don't know, I mean, it looks like light bulbs.
yeah.
And I want to be clear too, I support paddle, I play paddle. I just don't want it any worse than it is right now. And it's the constant kind of just worry that our, the Park District and their activities are encroaching more on our property values of the neighbors. and there's zero communication. We didn't know about that this was happening either. So just status quo, because if we continue to get worse, then it's a lot, the way it is right now. But I know we bought our house there, so we have to put up with, so I respect that too, that we decided to buy it next to a park district. So I see both sides to that.
Now, the fact is that the lights will diminish, I don't know about LEDs, but.
They do diminish over some time, but nowhere near as
So,
much.
That will be what he calls wow factor. I mean, I've got it in my own house, I changed some lighting.
Yes.
It's like, ooh, but you get it okay.
Right. So that's just my
I
concern.
think what we want to make sure is that if we approve all this, and I don't know what the alternative would be, but if the neighbors say, wait, this is way out of line here, that the park district will have these guys come back and make whatever adjustments are made, need to be made. Right? But you're never going to not have any light.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's concerning, what you just said is concerning to me with our recent experiences.
Yes, you had to make the comment.
If I may, I don't know how exactly this is supposed to work, but your property, I'm not familiar with exactly where it's at. The lights that you speak of, are they the paddle court lights or are they the pool deck lights?
They're the paddle court lights.
Okay, so you probably won't really notice much difference with the paddle court lights. The paddle court lights are much newer, and they are already LED fixtures. Now, the light fixtures that were chosen are a little bit unique in that the LED lights actually are slightly down from the hoods. Now, that was chosen because those were the same fixtures that you guys approved at the time, but the fixtures that we're going to be putting in produce the same light output, but there's a decent chance you will actually have less of that glare effect because they are not extended down from that fixture. But the critical thing is that you probably won't notice much. When Derek speaks of the wow factor, he's thinking more along the lines of going from those high pressure sodium lights and the metal halide lights at artesian field, because those lights are such old technology and they have diminished over so much time. You probably won't notice really much any different because we are going from an LED fixture to an LED fixture, same color temperature to same color temperature, same lumen production to the same lumen production. There probably will be no wow factor at your site.
But is there something you can do with the angle of the fixtures? In other words, you
Yes.
mentioned that
We
it.
can adjust them.
We can adjust. I don't know what the line of sight is from your specific line. I don't know exactly where your property is, and so I don't want to speak out of turn and say that's going to be 100% possible because it's not like we can turn the fixture away specifically if it's directly in line. I just don't know what that angle is. I'm working with math that I have no representative of. But the point that I'm trying to make is that there really shouldn't be any noticeable difference from if you're talking about the paddle courts.
And, if everything's directed at the golf course, that would make sense. I don't know if it is, and I know, it affects the whole corner of houses. And that probably is what makes me nervous. I don't know if there could be a clause put in that if they go in, and again, we're not gonna be unreasonable, but if they're worse or they're much brighter, then how do we come back and fix that issue? Without it going into a battle and us having to go to multiple park board meetings and all of that.
We will work very much so to make sure that all the adjustments that can be made will be made. Again, our 100% goal is like for like direct replacement.
We don't have adjustment.
And the lights that are there have no adjustability in them at all.
The
So
current
we
lights have
do
no
have
adjustability, yeah.
more flexibility with the fixtures that are going in than the fixtures that are there now.
You have a better chance of removing that glare completely with the new fixtures going in, because we have the ability to do whatever we want with the fixtures. We can adjust the light output with the dimming capabilities, we can adjust them, so, there's a lot more, should be better than what you have now. As
We just
long
don't
as
know
it-
exactly
We just don't
where
know
you are.
exactly what the,
Where your
Yeah, where
issue
you're
is,
at,
yeah.
yeah.
We understand what the light fixture is that you're concerned about,
the
but I'm not
technology.
exactly sure what the line between your property and the paddle courts are.
Yeah, and, my property shouldn't take precedent over our neighbors or anything. It's just our whole line and what's
Yep.
shining into our.
Yeah, I wouldn't
So
want
I want to believe everyone. I'm just nervous. Just.
Understand.
Thank you.
Are there light fixtures that have because you said that this light source is recessed a little bit into the casing, is that what you're trying to, is that what you're describing, or is the other one's the light source? The lens is a little bit further down.
The current fixture that's there actually has, effectively it looks like a puck that actually extends down below the hood.
Yeah.
And the fixtures that we're looking to put in don't do that. They are flush mounted.
Flush with
And
this.
so they're actually brought up. So if you have a fixture that is, I guess what I'm trying to say is if you have any under angle,
Mhm.
it's impossible to eliminate glare completely
Right.
if that light is overhead and you're looking up at it at all.
Right.
If it is far enough out
Yeah.
that it is more of a side issue, we're gonna have less of that because that fixture is not going to protrude down past it. Are there small adjustments that can be made? Absolutely. And we'll absolutely work with whatever the board requests. But our ultimate goal is like for like direct replacement lumen output. And the fixtures that we're choosing, they are for this kind of scenario. They're not a wide angle throw light. They are much more of a focused light fixture. So it is to light the paddle court. We're not trying to light any further out past than that.
And compared to what's existing now in the paddle courts, the new fixtures we're putting in have adjustability. Right now, you're stuck with exactly what you have, you can't change it. With the new lights being put in, you can adjust them, dim them, so if there's a problem with it being too bright, you want to lower it, all you have to do is just use the control and lower the light output.
Do they have fixtures, just so it's not a question after they're installed, do they have fixtures where the source
Is recessed?
recessed even more so?
Not really, no. They do make some external fixtures with hoods
Like
on
barn
them.
door hoods or
Yeah, like this one.
Yeah, but they're not really specific for this
application?
application, yeah. That's a little bit more,
So are you saying, just so on the record, well, I don't say on the record as it, but this is the best fixture to accommodate any concerns that a neighbor would have? There's nothing out there that's a better solution that we didn't look into and we chose not to do it because of X?
yeah, there's only so many varieties of fixtures. There's hundreds of manufacturers. And could one manufacturer have a slight variation to another? Sure. But the type of fixtures that we're looking at are specific to what we're going for. You have floodlights that throw light very far and wide. You have area lights that focus that light very closely. You have stadium fixtures for stadium fields that have poles that are much higher. You have barn-style lights for barn entrances, wall pack entrances, things like that. This is an area light application. We're going to be working with an
The
area light.
optics of the light can be adjusted to. So there's IES files built for these type of situations where you can pick different optics, type 3, type 4, short throw, back throw. And that's been around for a while. But the white lights you have existing in the paddle courts, they just shoot light everywhere. There's no optics on that. So the lights that we're suggesting, you can see on the spec sheets, there is different optics and different variations of them. So not only do you get the adjustability of the dimming, you get the adjustability of the Kelvin temperature of the light, but you also can pick an optic that literally throws the light where you need it.
So it diffuses
It's
it
as
more
focused
90
as
and then
possible.
this way?
You could have an area light that's facing this way that's shooting like that way. I mean, the technology is just amazing.
Okay.
I mean, and the lights you're putting in are state of the art. They're not 10-year-old LEDs like you have now. These are newer
Okay.
style LEDs that.
They give us
it's
the
become-
most
it's become a
flexibility
streamline.
possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now the flexibility is there to even solve some of the problems you're having with the neighbors, where there might actually be some, some help there by having those adjustability.
I have another question.
What-
Is it our, is it our role to ask for a process for this? Like you would put them in and then the neighbors would be notified, these are new, and then you would come back and adjust, or like?
That's typically done on the front side.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's not us. You know what I'm asking?
Park district. Park district.
Park district,
Yep.
so,
And that's where like for like really comes into play.
okay.
And frankly, that's why we work really hard to do exactly that. And that's why when we first got up, that's what we specialize in is direct replacement. We work with school districts, we work with park districts, we work with fire departments. So this is really not a niche field that you're in for lighting. And all of these things have to be approved by original engineers, and that's why you really can't just, we can't just go in and say, oh, let's just put a bigger light in.
Right.
It was approved when the facility was first you know, drawn up and approved, architectural drawings, all that. So that's where it's typically, if a change has to be made, where it's like, hey, we need to put a more powerful fixture in. Okay, there's an engineering process to that, where you have to get the electrical approval, you have to get the panel ratings, you have to get the fixture ratings, can the pole handle the weight, which is why we work so hard at that like-for-like replacement.
Well, I don't think I was asking about like different lighting. You're talking about, okay, so we could put them in and then we could adjust it,
Mhm.
you know? So is there a process about that process? Like, so, do you know what I'm asking?
I do, yes, and we can make those types of arrangements. Obviously, we as a company and as a for-profit industry,
Right, can't come back.
we can't come back
100
100 times.
Exactly.
You know, we come out, we set them, and we allow one additional adjustment as part of our initial bid to the park district. After that, it's a per cost basis, and that would be something the park district would have to compensate for.
When you come back and do that adjustment, when do you do it? What I'm thinking of is if they install the lights during the day, you can't really tell.
No, we always do that adjustment at night.
We do it at night.
Yeah, we always do that adjustment at night. We do football fields, we do high school fields, we've done the Schaumburg Boomers. I mean, we've done,
Yeah, we've done some pretty good.
So you put them in, and then you come back at night,
Mhm.
and is that your one adjustment, or is that part of the initial putting them in?
nope, that's the adjustment.
Okay, so you install them during the day,
Mhm.
then you're like,
Come back
okay,
and
now we're
adjust.
gonna come back and adjust.
Yep, which again is why when we were up here the first time, said, hey, if someone from the board or, you know, someone wants to be there to weigh in and make
Yes,
an adjustment, obviously, the park districts, it's their light, so we're obviously gonna be focused on giving them that like-for-like replacement.
right,
But if they are standing there with us and say, hey, you know,
Okay.
we want to make an adjustment, and the park district approves that adjustment, and whoever else is there weighs in, then yeah, we're happy to make that adjustment.
so if there's concerned neighbors,
Mhm.
they should contact the park district and say, we understand you're putting in some new lights, and they're gonna be adjusted, can you let us know what day that's gonna be?
I'm not going to speak for the park district.
All right, does anybody else?
I put the lights up. Who complains the food is not my
All
fault?
right, I'm just wondering like what they told you.
Nothing.
But
My
yeah,
job is the lights.
we want to guess on the way this is gonna go.
Okay,
And the way is that they're gonna be installed, they're not gonna make any adjustments until the neighbors say it's grand, or they'll say, wait a minute,
Yes.
this is not quite the way we thought it was gonna be.
okay.
So then, you come back and say, what's wrong?
Mhm.
Because you got 4, 5, or 6 houses spreading down that line, and then the one in the back, they couple this way. So,
And the more specific it is, the better. I mean,
yeah,
it's that fixture right
Right,
there.
exactly.
What can we do to get?
exactly.
Okay.
And
It needs to go this way or that
Here's what I
way.
would recommend, is that somebody from your community gathers everybody, if it's not working out right, you're gonna know it, and you tell the park district, and you also tell Mike. Because there's always not the great, I guess you'd be the guy,
Sure, yeah.
because the park district doesn't always communicate. Yeah, and that's not your fault. But anyway, so I would say that might be the approach to take, and then that's how you get the things rectified as best as they can be.
When is this taking place?
So when is this gonna happen?
So
Yeah.
once you guys drive away, is there any control of the lights other than just on and off? I mean, are there multiple settings, or is it?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, So there's
absolutely.
specialty switching that goes with the lights?
It's all Bluetooth after that.
And who gets to
Exactly.
control that?
Hmm?
Who controls that?
Park district.
Park district has
Okay,
it.
not the people using the paddle ports or?
No, just the
They don't
park
have
district.
access.
They'll have control of it.
Yep.
They'll have their own, iPad, iPhone, whatever app, it's a Bluetooth app on a phone, and then they can adjust it right there.
A lot of times though, it's not something that is done, it's not like you needed to turn it on or anything like that. That is for like that, you know, deep engineering adjustment type of thing. You get it set the right way and you just let it go. You let it go, it
It's
does what it's
automated
supposed to do.
until you need to do something about it.
Okay. And so if somebody comes and wants to play paddle and the lights are off? they
That's
just-
all already built into the infrastructure.
It
The
is.
same way that it's already there right now, it's built in, they've got timers and switches and none of that changes. That hardware
It
doesn't
doesn't
change.
reset it.
Nope, it doesn't override
Controls
any
are
of that.
stuck on the fixture and they're set until somebody adjusts the control with the app. So whatever the park district sets the app at, when the power gets turned off, on and off, it's going back to the exact same setting that it was set at, until it's reset.
Okay.
Before you guys go away, The other issue that's part of this is the wall packs that you already put up. And has there been any issues from the neighborhood as far as those go? Because those do throw out.
I'm sorry, which part?
They're the wall packs that were put up on the sheds.
On the far opposite side of the property.
Yes, that's not my house, so I can't answer that question.
Okay.
Sorry.
I did go and look at it, there's that one little house there, that's like
Right?
Be specific.
super cute.
Yeah.
That's as specific.
That's not specific. Cute to you is not cute to everyone.
Really super cute. That's,
Super cute, it's kind of good, it's off of 176. It's just that one little house at the corner of,
Oh, we can go to a bigger variance here.
even at the alleyway,
yeah, it's on the back side of
next
the,
to the driving range.
yes, it's by the driving range. It's-
Nothing over in that area has been done.
That's
Yeah.
Margaret's house.
That's the south end of the property. The only thing that's been done is at the very far north end of the property.
Yeah,
I don't
and
think they own it yet, but they have a right to buy it when she dies.
Yeah.
I was wondering,
She
there's
has the right
a
to
couple of
stay.
those really do shine at them, the ones that are on the building, only like 2 of them. And I was wondering, are you good if you replace them with
Yes.
this sort of a
Well,
deal?
yeah, that's the plan, yes, to go with a full
So the
face
light
cut.
goes straight down.
That's better,
That's
okay.
why we recommended those.
Yeah, I think that would
Just so
be
you
a lot
can't see,
better.
because no matter what, if you try to angle light down with those open face ones, you
Yeah.
still see the glare of the light.
Right,
So that
yeah.
by using that,
So they're gonna switch out to this?
yes.
I think that's a
Yeah.
good idea.
The thing that's there now, though, is a few of those fixtures have died over the years, and they've been replaced, and obviously, if you're not in the lighting industry, a wall pack is a wall pack.
Right,
And so some of those fixtures have been changed out to, lighter, more bright, different color and whatnot, so you're gonna get way more uniformity out of this than you ever had what's there now. And we're gonna work hard to make sure that things like this are improved.
that's great.
Anybody else have any comments on what we're talking about? Yes. David?
Yes, maybe I'll come up there. So, my name is John Beal, I'm the executive director for the Park District. Probably should have started off with this earlier. This is a grant through ComEd. The Park District is receiving to replace a lot of our light fixtures and light bulbs with more efficient lights, so there's going to be savings to the taxpayers for these bills. One of the things that they can tell you, our initial, what we emphasize to them is that that these fixtures, especially the outdoor fixtures, do not put out any more light than what's there now. And so what we've been told is that they will be, again, they're saying light for light, they're adjustable, so they can be, that they would test the light levels before they're put in, they test the light levels when they're finished and make sure that they match and be able to adjust that. The amount of the total right now is, I think, around $77,000 for all of this work, and the cost of the Park District is less than $10, virtually no money out of our pocket for these improvements. So I think it's a good idea as far as consulting with the neighbors when we do the adjustments, when they're all in and they're ready to be adjusted and do some of that fine tuning. To make sure that we're not putting out more light that's going to disturb the neighbors, but we are very sensitive to that, to that fact. So the question came up about, who would control those. Our facility services control those, so not even the instructors. The time, for the lights to be on was set, I think, through an ordinance, perhaps after a review by this board years ago. You were probably involved with that. And so we don't even allow the instructors, they ask for that, but they always want more, and they want to keep the lights on another 15 minutes to let it finish. So we don't allow that. We have our facility staff control that and set those timers, and we'll continue to do that. We'll be doing it with the app. Again, you can change the color of the lights, you can change the intensity, but we're hoping to get all of that set with a professional input before we're done, and then, hopefully we'll leave it.
Great. Thank you.
Could you tell me when this will, if everything goes well, when this takes place?
So we've started already replacing the lights inside the building. So if you come by the rec center, you know how big the gymnasium, and all those lights have been already changed to newer, high efficient LED lights, they're on a sensor, so if there's no activity in the gym after an hour, they dim down, so there's, light saving there. So a lot of that work in and around the building is done. Some of the wall packs, I guess, were done. When are you gonna do the paddle?
Realistically, probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
If that's approved.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We want to get it in before the weather gets hard. Working exterior in icy conditions is not ideal, so realistically, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to start the work. And realistically, it should be about a 2-week project.
All right. Chief?
Are you talking specifically Blair at this point, or you're also
Yeah.
taking comments on Artesian at this
Yeah,
time?
we're gonna get to that.
Sorry?
We're gonna get to that in a minute.
Who is Artesian as the
We'll get
next
to that.
agenda item?
It's kind of a separate item, so.
All right.
Okay, anything else about Blair? Yes.
I'll just, you want me up here?
Yes, sure,
Okay.
yes.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jennifer Beeler. I'm the president of the Park District Board. And we do take communication with our neighbors and with the community very seriously. So I do want to make sure that we kind of change the narrative on this and make sure that we are very involved in this process. I really thank John for taking this initiative to do this because it is such a great cost savings for the Park District. And especially because we are so concerned about safety, and thank you as the board for taking a look at that. What I heard you say was the process, and I think that's really important because obviously this is the first step to see if we merit approval for this, but then make sure that our neighbors know about the process along the way because that is of concern as to how we are going to impact them, but also keep safety as a priority. So
Okay.
thank you all for
Thank you.
tonight.
Okay, now, I think we're done with Blair Park. Anybody else have any comments about Blair?
I would say one more thing, I would say about Blair Park, the paddle lights specifically, I think there's 6 lights per court, there's 4 courts, it's a lot of fixtures. So again, same height, pole, these are gonna be better fixtures, but the fixtures that are out there, while they're LED, they are already discontinued, so they're not supported anymore with parts. So this would actually be an advantage for the Park District to have the newer light fixtures put in. I think this is going to have a longer life and something that's easier to repair or replace down the road.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next item on the agenda then is the
Do
review.
we want to do a motion and vote
Oh,
on this
yeah,
one?
let's do a motion on this one, yeah, because it's a separate item, so, let's have a motion. People, who wants to make it?
I'll make it, I'll try to make it. So I move to approve the submittal from
Lead Electric.
Lead Electric, thank you. I would like to add some type of coordination between the Park District and the Lead Electric and the neighbors or any concerned
What everybody says,
citizen.
just
Yeah.
put it down.
Yeah. So somehow that needs to get communicated and scheduled. But
Okay, second?
Second.
This is roll call.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Member Wicks.
I agree. I approve,
Aye.
what do I say?
Aye. Member Strative.
Aye.
And Member Carewick.
aye.
Member Cottrell.
Aye.
Member Dahlman.
Aye.
And Chair Hunter.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Okay, next one then is the review of the lighting changes at Artesian Park. This is probably gonna be kind of more of the same.
Exactly, yeah. This is a different deal.
Okay. Dave, you got some comments to make, because I know that's in your yard.
Thank you. Just to be clear, so it's not, don't do it in my backyard. This is, my name is David Graff. I live at 111 East Prospect. I'm the last house on Prospect on the south side as you enter into the parking area by the tennis courts. Mike, would you go to, for the Artesian Park, it's in the lower right-hand corner, it's Exhibit 12. Okay. And just to put things in perspective, I've lived in the house we have now since 1978, so I've lived there for 45 years. And my wife grew up here in town, And in the 50s, certainly in the 60s, she tells me the skating pond was lit then. So even with 45 years, it precedes me, and believe me, I have no objection. I like what they're doing. I came with 2 questions. After listening to your presentation, I have 3.
Which is Exhibit 12, if I'm not, can you describe it?
It's on there, here.
Oh, that, okay. Okay.
Oh, the directional thing?
So the first thing I'll bring up from your presentation is a kind of a question. You talked about color and so forth. There's on their diagrams and so forth, it shows 4 light poles. There's actually 5 over there. The 2 of them are white now, and the others are, I would call them orange or yellow. I'm just wondering what the new color is going to be, if it's going to be more of a daylight white, or is it going to be the orange and yellow? That's just a curiosity question. The second is on time. We're doing this to save energy and so forth. The consistency of the lighting over there is kind of interesting. There's 2 times of the year that I observed that it's primarily used. It's used in the summer for the adult softball league. They'll play there 2 or 3 nights a week, and it's typically on, I'm not sure if it's 9 or 10 o'clock. I don't know if that's on a timer. That seems to be consistent. The skating in the winter illumination is perhaps more of an interest for us, because that's when the foliage is off the trees. If you're familiar at all where we are, we have a nice wooded kind of buffer. And it seems to be on a lot in the winter, even when there's no skating, or I'm not sure what the timing is at night for that. That's also a curiosity question. But here's my point, John. If we look at this drawing, the 2 poles, one is on that drawing there in the upper right-hand corner. One backs up to Sheridan Place, the other one backs up to Sheridan Road. And if you look at the arrows for where the light comes for the 3 lights, you can see there's 2 arrows that are pointed directly east. Okay? So from our family room and so forth, I think the term you guys used is glare. Those are like aimed right at us. Right? The illumination area from the ball field and so forth, that's no problem at all. It does a beautiful job over there containing it around the ball field. No problems, no concerns at all. I'm just wondering, as you're putting in new fixtures and so forth, is there something, maybe it's just those 2, so they don't quite aim themselves directly towards the houses along the east side of the park. Okay. So an observation and I guess 2 questions, but I'll come back to the basics. I think this is a really good idea. I think it's nice to save energy. The program that you found to finance and so forth, I think it's great. But after all these years, someone finally gave me a venue to ask about the lights, so I thought I would do that. Thank you for listening to me.
Thanks, Dave. So,
To answer your question about the color temperature, they're going to be more the daylight white lights. Yellow light is not what is considered approved for ball fields. Those lights have dimmed dramatically over the years. I can't imagine that was actually selected through any type of approval process or anything. That was probably just whatever, a bulb burned out and a bulb went in type of thing. But the lights going in, they're going to be more of the daylight white lights.
I think that makes more sense. I'm just curious.
It does.
Yeah.
It's a mix now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be uniform.
I would suggest that we do the exact same thing. As long as we can generate the foot candle lighting that we need on the field, if we can tweak the angle on the adjustment day to try to avoid the glare. I did Google your address when you spoke of it to try and get an understanding of what you were specifically bringing up. You are, if I'm not mistaken, you're on the far east side of the park, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the field that's lit is on the far west side.
Right.
And so we're not worried about the light cast at all, because it's across a whole other completely unlit field. It's just the line of sight glare. We're happy to adjust it as much as we can, but obviously we have to yield the foot candles on the field. So we're happy to do the adjustment as best as possible. Just, I would say, make yourself available on that day. If we could get some communication from, from the park district out to you, then that'd be phenomenal. But
Are those 40-foot poles or 30-foot poles?
I actually think there's two different heights out there. Yeah, you would have to pull it up, but,
The ones around the field are fairly similar. The fifth one, which
the
is
internal one is
kind of
taller.
across the way, it's near the other field, that one's
Taller.
completely different, that's very tall.
I think
That's all that's
that's
going in
the
here.
This is a short.
Lightning, beams on and all that.
Yeah, the outfield poles, or the far poles on the far west side, they are shorter, yeah.
So that, okay.
Yeah, so it lowers that light, and so, yeah. We'll see if we can't get more light to come from the other side
Or even like
to
a
cast
shield or
it,
something.
and that way those lights can be pushed more down as opposed to out.
Yeah, I like what I'm hearing. The only thing I was talking about, like I said, was an opportunity. There's two, maybe three of them that, I guess you guys call it glare. It almost looks like there's a
You
light.
can see the
being
light
back.
being generated.
But as I said, the bleed over light, that's not an issue at all.
Okay.
How about
Anybody else?
timer?
How about your?
What is the operational time for that, John? Is that on a timer over there, or how's that run?
Yeah, Jim can address that.
Yeah, Jim Lakeman with the Park District. So both during the summer and during the skating hours, they are on timers. We do have the availability to remotely shut them off or turn them on. We do, for softball, they're supposed to end 10, a little after 10 maybe, if they're in an extra inning during the summertime. During skating hours, they actually get a warning light and they shut off right automatically.
What time is that?
It depends on what time of week. I think during the day or during the weekdays, I think it goes till 9 p.m. But I can send you the specific times for the skating hours.
Yeah. Just to be clear, I don't really have a problem with the operational hours at all. It's just on the skating rink, Jim, sometimes when, frankly, it's not skatable, then the lights are still on.
We'll work
It's
with you.
more of an energy comment than it is.
We'll make sure that when they're not, when it's not in use for skating, and we have the signage up, we'll shut off the lights.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I vote yes.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, any questions, anything else from this group?
I have one question, it's sort of, but maybe it's just if you turn it off when there's no skating, it's fine, but if he's more worried about when there's no foliage and there's no specific requirements for skating, really, if they're all really programmable, is it possible to turn off a couple of the offender lights?
That's not really programming, though.
It's not?
No, because that's specific to weather concerns. We can't program weather into the, so when you say not skatable, you mean?
No,
that
no, I
it's-
just mean when it's the skating as opposed to just the whole skating season. Is it possible to turn, are the light poles?
Oh, I see what you're
independent,
saying.
or-
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
adjust each fixture individually.
Yeah, so that's called a scene. So you could have a baseball scene where
Yes.
all the fixtures are on.
Yeah,
You could have a skating scene. We're not familiar with what the skating scenario is, but if we're provided with some sort of plan, we can select certain lights and create a
Yes.
scene for that. And so that would be something that the park district would have to select the skating scene. But yeah, that is programmable into the system.
so
We could
maybe,
turn off certain fixtures.
so
yep.
maybe that would help his glare problem when there's
Absolutely.
no
Yeah, we
foliage.
can just turn the light off.
Yep, assuming we can get enough light from it, yeah.
Let me, I thank you for that. That's a really good point, but in this time, I'll speak for you guys. If you're familiar with the skating pond, they run the boards to separate the general skating area and the hockey area. That runs north and south, kind of about in the line where you would envision first to second base is. So if you turned off the two poles that were over there, I think you would wind up with a shadow over where the kids play hockey and so forth. So I kind of like your idea, but I think it might not work too well for the skating because.
We don't have to turn it off by pole, we can turn it off by fixture. Each
So
fixture is
maybe
controllable.
The couple that
Yep.
glare.
Yep, the ones that point most straight west to east, it sounds like, are the offenders.
The nice thing is, you could do whatever you want with the lights.
The beautiful thing is
Once
we're
they're
gonna
up, you
teach,
can-
we're
yeah.
gonna teach them
You
how
can
to
adjust
use the
them.
program, and so
Okay,
it can be
awesome.
adjusted.
The only limit you have is
Yeah,
the
I
angle
love
of the
it.
lights that are up and the height that the lights are
Yeah.
at. on the
That will
pole.
never change.
Yeah,
Once,
you can't
once those
change
are
that.
fixed.
Right.
But the light itself, you can do, you can dim it, you can schedule it, you can
That's
do
very
whatever you
cool.
want with it,
Yep.
you know, so it
Okay.
helps.
So that may be
Yeah.
something to look into, a baseball scene and a skating scene, or?
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
And he'll have full instructions on how to do everything.
Yeah.
And it's, you know,
Yeah.
just an app, so it should.
That's awesome.
So if something changes in future, the skating area switches, you could adjust.
You can always adjust it based
Okay.
on everything changes, yeah.
Okay, great.
Couple skating. Couple skating.
Okay,
I do have another question for you.
okay.
We recently, the school district is putting new lights in their parking lot right across the street.
Yep.
And the neighbors were in here very concerned about glare coming into their bedrooms. And I'm concerned that if your places that you're talking about is, there's a whole nother baseball field across there before you get to any other houses. And if you look the other direction, go directly south, are they gonna be getting glare into their bedrooms, which was a big issue when the school district was here?
Is there a specific question there?
Yeah, how do you get rid of that glare?
Turn the lights off.
Yeah, I don't think that ever came up. From the, if you're talking about from Ingerman and the people that were back there.
Yeah.
behind the parking lot, that's a parking lot, that's like a whole block away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we can deal with that. If
We can adjust them with what the capabilities of the lights are, you know, but if, like I said, you know, you can put up a taller pole. That's
Like just
the
going
only
back
thing
to
that
the
can-
issue of
Yeah.
when you get out there to do adjustments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do everything in the capability of the light that we can, based on the height and the placement of the light, but.
Let's be clear what the glare problem is. If you can see where the light source is being generated, you're going to see it. It's impossible to stop that.
Well, it
There's no
depends
way.
on- It also depends on how much you.
How much you tilt it.
Yep,
So that-
and we're happy to adjust
yes.
that within the foot candle requirements that the
And that's
field
something we'll have
requires.
the capability to
Yeah.
do while we're there, so maybe we can address that issue.
Yep.
Yeah.
But specifically to address an issue, we have to know where the concern specifically is coming
We
from.
don't know that there is one, but
Yeah.
there was.
Yeah.
With a
Yeah.
parking lot.
During the time frame that we're
Adjacent to the back.
scheduling to do this.
Yeah.
This is across the street, so. Okay, did we get anything from our online person?
No one online is indicating that they want to speak. No one's pressed the button to raise their hand.
Because we've covered all the bases.
Yep.
You got it.
And one point,
Yeah,
on the photometrics, this sheet, there appears to be one light pole that isn't, the lumens aren't reflected. In other words, you have the light pole behind the dugout. And then there's another light pole across the, you know, the paving or the roadway or whatever.
Yeah, we've mentioned that before. So, we're going to take this correctly. I think this is a light pole here.
Right.
Yeah, that's a light pole there.
So, yeah, I mean, you're getting the light, the foot candles that you need just from the lights that we didn't really, I guess we missed that one.
But are you changing, I guess the question is that one going to be used?
I guess it's something we have to review. Yeah, we can change them or we can delete them. If you guys don't want them, it's up to you, whatever you guys want to do.
Oh, I see which one it is.
Yeah.
It's not related to the field.
Yeah, it's not related to the field, so they didn't
Yeah.
include it photometric.
Yeah.
That's more of like a general illumination for them.
Well, but if you look at the aerial, in the shadow cast by the aerial, they look identical in terms of the height of the pole and so forth.
I remember that one too, that is one that is shown.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, there's three lights on that pole. One faces that green dugout, the third base side dugout, and then two face the walkways, I believe. One faces north, one faces south, if I'm not mistaken. But they're not related to the field,
They're not
which is
related.
why they're not on the photometric.
You're not replacing them?
I don't believe so, no.
Because those are just primarily lighting the walkway adjacent to your house, right?
I mean,
To get to the park?
I can tell you, the lights were on tonight, I don't know why, but they were on over there. And the three lights on the pole you're talking about are pretty much useless. One aims at the back of the dugout, the other two, I think, are misaligned, and they're like spotlights on the ground. One's aimed at the grandstands, and the other one's aimed at the walkway. The pole's really doing next to nothing.
It did, yeah.
If you're changing these lights, you ought to be putting new lights up there too, I think.
Probably like general illumination lights, just for the path.
They all look like they ought to be re-aimed the way they are right now.
It's up to the park, as you can say.
Yeah, whatever.
we can work with the park district on what's best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep, we can review it again and come back to them, but
Are we ready to make a motion? Somebody? Want to do it? Any other questions before we go this one? No? Okay, somebody make a motion.
Let me ask one clarification. Are we saying that the drawing up there only shows 3 lights? Are we saying that there should be 4?
The drawing shows 4 poles, there's actually 5 poles.
But the one pole is not in the project.
But it's on this exhibit.
So are we saying there should be 5? Because otherwise-
No, that's only 4. I think the fifth one, this is close to the field.
Oh, that's the one
fifth
behind the
would still
dugout.
be out
Oh,
here.
so it's not even in the exhibit.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's on this.
it's on the
on the other
location
side.
map.
On this.
Yeah, the location map indicated they were doing it.
But yeah, that's what, okay.
Right.
Yeah, I think we just have the same caveat, or that we're gonna be reviewed by the neighbors
Yeah.
or somebody. I think that's, but do we need to clarify if that pole is being,
I think that's up to
Refitted?
the park district.
yeah, it's not, so,
I think we would like to lightly add that, I think it's mostly meant to be a safety feature,
Okay.
light up those pathways, and
Yeah.
they're not doing that now, but I think we'd like to include that.
It would be good.
Okay. Give it that. Who's gonna go?
again, I move to approve as submitted with the same requirement that after initial installation, the lighting will be reviewed by all interested parties.
Okay. Second.
That's good, I'll second it.
All right, roll call.
Okay. Member Cottrell,
aye.
Member Dahlman,
Aye.
Member Caraway,
Aye.
Member Stradiff,
Aye.
Member Wicks,
Aye.
and Chair Hunter.
All right,
Okay, motion passes.
Good.
All ayes.
have at it, guys.
thank you, thank you.
Light up our
Thank
lights.
you.
Aaron. Thank you so much. Oh, very good.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
of course.
Thank you. Join up.
Lighting orders, that's amazing.
So our last item is the meeting dates for next
That's
year.
the meeting.
So September and November are the two that we didn't put on the first Tuesday because of Labor Day and Election Day.
We're gonna do our very best to set them up first.
Otherwise, I think the first Tuesday works out for the other.
That's not why I asked for much input from the beginning.
I move to approve.
Okay,
Because the best thing is. Second.
okay, Scott, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I move to adjourn. Someone Googles my name, it's gonna be full of motions.
You're so important.
That guy makes a lot of motions.
All in favor?
Yes.
All in favor? Okay.
Yes.
The meeting, we're not doing that.